Alright guys, welcome to the video. So in today's video I'm going to be comparing two different types of stabilization that you can use when flying FPV drones, and that is Reelsteady and Hypersmooth. When it comes to flying FPV drones, you need to stabilize your footage. If you don't stabilize your footage at all, this is what the footage looks like. Now there's two main ways to stabilize your footage. There is GoPro's in-camera stabilization, which is called Hypersmooth, and then there's Reelsteady, which is a standalone program or a program that you can incorporate into Adobe After Effects to stabilize the footage after you already import it to your computer. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is Reelsteady, and Reelsteady, like I said, is a standalone program. And I'm just going to talk about the $99 Reelsteady Go version just because that's the version that I have. They do have a version that works with After Effects that you can stabilize any footage. It costs like $500, but the most widely used version for FPV flying is Reelsteady Go. So like I said, it is a program that you download the footage from your GoPro and you put on your computer, and then you run it through Reelsteady, and it analyzes all of the metadata from that video to come with a really stable, silky smooth looking image. Now on the other hand, Hypersmooth is in camera. So when you have Hypersmooth on with your GoPro, you can film whatever and it's already pre-stabilizing that footage for you. So the video that you take from the camera and bring to your computer, that video is already stabilized. Not all GoPros have Hypersmooth, but the new 7 and 8 do. So this video is specifically for people who use GoPros because that's what Reelsteady and Hypersmooth are for. But if you are filming with some other type of action cam or something, then yeah. So with Reelsteady and Hypersmooth, they don't work for all different frame rates, but really quick overview of the frame rates that I like to shoot with. So when I'm using Reelsteady, I like to shoot 2.7 60, and then if I shoot with Hypersmooth, I like to shoot on 4K 60. For a full compatibility chart and to see exactly what video specs work with Reelsteady and Hypersmooth, I'll put them here and here, so you guys can pause it or whatever and check it out. But you can also find those on their website as well. But for now, I'm gonna hop straight into showing you actual footage because that's where you can really see the difference. So without further ado, let's hop into it. So last weekend I was up filming FPV with some ATVs and quads up in the mountains. So that's where this footage is from. It was so much fun to fly there, and I just wanted to test out the two different modes. So I filmed some in 4K 60, some in 2.7K 60, but the first one that I'm gonna look at is the 4K 60 from the GoPro. And for both of these videos, I had an ND8 Polar Pro filter on. So I'm gonna hop into it now. Cool, so this is the Hypersmooth, and right off the bat, it is pretty stabilized. It is not perfect. There are a couple little jitters that happen, but for the most part, it's really stable. It's also definitely the crispiest picture you can get. It's just really clear and looks amazing. I don't know how GoPros are able to get that good of quality in such a small size, but you can see there are little jitters every once in a while. They're really slight, and sometimes you can take them out with Final Cut stabilization software, but it is just worth noting those tiny little jitters. But overall it's really good and the picture just looks amazing. And the nice thing about Hypersmooth is that's how it is straight out of the camera. So this video is the exact video that I pulled from the SD card. Alright, next up is the 2.7K 60 with Reelsteady applied. So right off the bat, you can tell it's a little bit more unclear than the 4K 60 footage. That's just how it is. It's shot in 2.7K. But it is a lot smoother than the Hypersmooth. Those little tiny jitter parts just aren't existent at all with Reelsteady. It just has this like cinematic look to it that you can't really explain. And odds are most of the FPV videos that you've seen on the internet were stabilized with Reelsteady. And just to give you an idea of what Reelsteady is actually doing, it's allergy season. Where's the Claritin? Anyways, back to the video. To give you an idea of what Reelsteady is actually doing, I'm gonna show you the video before it was stabilized with Reelsteady. So this is what footage would look like without any stabilization whatsoever. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the comparison. This was just a really quick video. I got a couple questions of people just asking what the difference was, so I just wanted to put this together so you guys can see it side by side. So lastly, I'm just going to give you an idea of when I film with Reelsteady and when I use Hypersmooth. So as you can see, Reelsteady is a much better form of stabilization. So when I'm flying really technical stuff, like let's say I'm flying through the house or through a bunch of branches and stuff, I always use Reelsteady just because it looks so smooth and so cinematic. However, when I'm flying in an open area or I'm like surfing on a mountain ridge or something like that, I'm always shooting 4K 60 just because the picture looks that much better. They both have their uses, and actually if you're using the GoPro Hero 6, you can actually shoot 4K 60 with Reelsteady. I know that's kind of confusing, that's just how it is, and I am going to be doing a camera specific FPV video that basically just explains what camera you should be using when you're filming. But that's kind of my personal thoughts. I like to use my Hero 8 because not only do I use it for FPV, I use it for underwater stuff, I use it for hyperlapses, I use it for time lapses. So having the 8 is better for me. But I know plenty of FPV pilots that use just the 6. You can actually use Reelsteady with 4K Hero 8 footage, but it only shoots 30 frames per second, and with FPV I always like shooting in slow motion, so I want that 60 frames per second. Like I said, in the future I'm going to be getting more into depth about the actual cameras that you use when you're filming FPV and the best ones to try, but I hope that gives you a good overview of the stabilization methods and just kind of explains what the best two are. As always, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments section down below. Let me know what you want me to make my next video on, and I will see you on the next one.